kings backstabbed by their closest allies. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're diving into some seriously intense history. I'm talking about kings and rulers, the guys with all the power, betrayed by the people they trusted most. Imagine having your back stabbed, not by your enemy, but by your best friend, your right-hand man, or even your own family. We're going to look at 10 of the craziest stories of betrayal in history. Get ready for some shocking twists, insane power struggles, and straight-up brutal betrayals that'll make you rethink who you can trust. Let's do this! We're kicking things off with one of the most famous betrayals of all time, Julius Caesar. This guy was a Roman general, a brilliant strategist, and a leader who conquered vast territories. He was on top of the world. But not everyone was happy with Caesar's ambition. Some Roman senators, the guys in charge of making laws, started getting worried. They saw Caesar gaining more and more power, and they feared he was becoming a dictator. Leading the charge against Caesar was Marcus Junius Brutus, Caesar's close friend and confidant. Brutus and a group of senators, calling themselves the Liberatores, decided Caesar had to go. They planned a surprise attack, and on March 15th, 44 BC, they confronted Caesar in the Roman Senate. Picture this: Caesar walks into the Senate chamber, completely unaware of what's about to go down. Suddenly, the senators surround him. One of them, Casca, pulls out a dagger and strikes the first blow. Caesar is caught off guard, but he tries to fight back. But he's outnumbered, and the senators, including Brutus, stab him repeatedly. Caesar, realizing he's been betrayed by his closest friend, utters the famous line, "Et tu, Brute," which means "You too, Brutus." Next up, we're traveling to England in the 14th century to talk about King Richard II. Now, Richard wasn't exactly the most popular king. He had a bit of a spending problem, loved surrounding himself with yes-men, and wasn't afraid to throw his weight around. This didn't sit well with his cousin, Henry Bolingbroke, who also happened to be a powerful nobleman. Henry was a smart and ambitious guy, and he saw an opportunity to seize power. He challenged Richard's authority, accusing him of being a tyrant and a terrible ruler. Henry gained a massive following, and soon he had enough support to launch a full-blown rebellion against Richard. Richard, realizing he was in deep trouble, tried to negotiate with Henry, but Henry wasn't interested in sharing power. He wanted the throne for himself. He captured Richard and forced him to abdicate. Just like that, Henry Bolingbroke became King Henry IV, and poor Richard was imprisoned in Pontefract Castle. Legend has it that Richard was left to starve to death in the castle. Get ready for a wild ride, because we're about to dive into the French Revolution. This is where King Louis XVI learned the hard way that absolute power doesn't last forever. Louis XVI inherited the throne of France, but he wasn't exactly cut out for the job. He was indecisive, out of touch with the common people, and his extravagant spending habits while the country was struggling financially didn't win him any popularity contests. Meanwhile, the people of France were fed up with the monarchy. They were tired of being poor, hungry, and having no say in how their country was run. In 1789, the French Revolution exploded onto the scene. The people stormed the Bastille, a symbol of royal authority, and demanded liberty, equality, and fraternity. Louis XVI, realizing things were getting out of control, tried to flee France with his family. But they were caught and brought back to Paris as prisoners. The revolutionaries put Louis XVI on trial for treason, and guess what? They found him guilty. On January 21st, 1793, Louis XVI was executed in front of a massive crowd in Paris. Chapter 4. Our next story takes us back to England, where King Edward II's reign was plagued by rebellion, intrigue, and ultimately a shocking betrayal by his own wife. Edward was a king who loved the finer things in life. He surrounded himself with favorites, showered them with gifts, and seemed more interested in lavish parties than ruling a kingdom. This didn't sit well with his powerful barons, who felt ignored and sidelined. Adding fuel to the fire was Edward's relationship with his favorite, Piers Gaveston. Rumors swirled about their close bond, and many believed they were more than just friends. Now enter Edward's wife, Queen Isabella of France. Initially, Isabella tolerated Edward's behavior, but when he constantly favored Gaveston over her and their children, she had enough. Isabella formed an alliance with Roger Mortimer, a powerful baron who had his own score to settle with Edward. Together they launched a rebellion against the king. Edward's reign crumbled and he was forced to flee for his life, but Isabella and Mortimer captured him, forcing him to abdicate the throne in favor of his young son, Edward III. Imprisoned in Berkeley Castle, Edward II met a grim end. Many believe that Isabella and Mortimer orchestrated his death to secure their grip on power. Chapter 5. Witness the English Civil War unfold. King Charles I faces betrayal from Parliament. He believed in the divine right of kings. Parliament wanted more say and clashed with him. The English Civil War erupted in 1642. Parliamentarians led by Cromwell won. Charles was captured and tried for treason. He was sentenced to death. On January 30th, 1649, he was beheaded. Chapter 6. We're traveling back in time to ancient Greece to talk about one of the greatest military commanders in history, Alexander the Great. This guy conquered a massive empire before he even hit his 33rd birthday. He was a legend, but even someone as powerful as Alexander couldn't escape the shadow of betrayal, even if it happened after his death. Alexander's empire stretched from Greece all the way to India. He was unstoppable. But in 323 BC, at the height of his power, Alexander fell ill and died in Babylon. No one knows for sure what caused his death, but some historians believe he might have been poisoned. Alexander didn't have a clear heir, someone to take over his massive empire. His generals, the guys who helped him conquer all that land, started fighting amongst themselves for control. These generals, who were once loyal to Alexander, turned on each other, carving up the empire they had fought so hard to build. The empire was divided into several kingdoms, each ruled by one of Alexander's ambitious generals. This led to years of war and instability. Dive into the Wars of the Roses, a brutal power struggle for the English throne. King Henry VI, more interested in piety than politics, was caught in the middle. Ambitious nobles like Richard of York challenged his rule. The Yorks and Lancasters clashed, leading to battles and power shifts. Henry was deposed, imprisoned, and met a tragic end in the Tower of London. We're heading back to ancient Greece to talk about King Philip II of Macedon, the father of Alexander the Great. Philip was a brilliant military strategist and a ruthless ruler who unified the Greek city-states under his command. He laid the groundwork for his son's future conquests and left a lasting mark on history. But Philip's life was cut short by a shocking act of betrayal that sent shockwaves through the ancient world. In 336 BC, Philip II was attending his daughter's wedding in the city of Aegae. He was at the height of his power, surrounded by his court and family. As Philip entered the theatre for the celebration, he was suddenly attacked by one of his own bodyguards, a man named Pausanias. Pausanias stabbed Philip to death in front of the horrified crowd before attempting to escape. He was quickly apprehended and killed, but the damage was done. Philip II, the king who had conquered vast territories and reshaped the political landscape of Greece, was dead at the hands of someone he trusted to protect him. The motives behind Pausanias' assassination remain a mystery. Some historians believe he acted alone, driven by a personal grudge against the king. Others suspect a more complex conspiracy, possibly involving Philip's wife Olympias or even his son Alexander the Great. Dive into the 30 Years' War and the mysterious death of Gustavus Adolphus, the King of Sweden. Known as the Lion of the North, he was a brilliant military commander and devout Protestant. His triumphs ended at the Battle of Lutzen in 1632. Separated from his troops, he was killed, leaving his death shrouded in mystery. Hold on to your hats, because our final story is a roller coaster of betrayal, ambition, and a wife who took seizing the throne to a whole new level. Peter III of Russia was indecisive and unpopular. His wife, Catherine the Great, was ambitious and seized power in 1762. Catherine's coup led to Peter's abdication and mysterious death. She modernized Russia, but her rise was marked by betrayal. Wow, what a wild ride through history. We've seen kings betrayed, empires crumble, and power change hands in the blink of an eye. From Julius Caesar's assassination to Catherine the Great's rise to power. These stories of betrayal are a reminder that even those at the pinnacle of power are vulnerable to the schemes and ambitions of others. It's crazy how quickly things can change when trust is broken and ambition takes over. These stories are a reminder that history is full of surprises and that even the most powerful rulers can't escape the consequences of their actions or the actions of those they trust most. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history's biggest betrayals, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more mind-blowing content. And be sure to let me know in the comments which story shocked you the most. Until next time, stay curious.